This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system. Hello, welcome to the Boundary Park alert system with me, Matt Dean, and back from holiday, Andy Halliwell. How are you, Andy?
Hi, mate. Have I missed anything?
Not really. Not really. Yeah, you have, yeah. Well, you haven't, but, you know. We've also got Andy Roberts. It's going to get confusing, this, isn't it, with Andy Roberts and Andy Halliwell. I'll just have to refer to you both by your full names. Welcome to the show, Andy Roberts.
Howdy.
So, you've been away for 2 weeks, Andy. You've missed a few games in that time, haven't you? Like in terms of actually being able to go and watch them personally, but you've caught up with most of the action, I guess. We're recording on Monday night after what was an extremely disappointing afternoon at Boundary Park. We lost 1-0 at home to Solihull, 2-0, sorry. I'm as low going into recording this podcast as I've ever been since we started this podcast. So when you think about how shocking it's been over the last few years of recording this pod, I just feel like I'm very, very dejected. I'm very, very fed up. Probably for different reasons than other people are feeling it. But should we talk about today's game? I mean, with Boreham Wood, the other day was 0-0. It wasn't much to write home about. I know people have been referring to the fact that Oxford City beat Boreham Wood 4-0 today. Boreham Wood only had 12 fit professionals before the game against us. So I'm sure that having played 2 games in 3 days has probably taken its toll on the Boreham Wood players, which has contributed to them getting a whooping off Oxford City today. But has anyone want to comment on the Boreham Wood game before we move on to today?
I missed the Boreham Wood game because I was flying at the time, in the same way that I missed the Aldershot game because I was flying in the opposite direction. So I've been away for a fortnight. But I've watched the other 3 games. So I watched Halifax at home on streamed today's game. And obviously I watched the Chesterfield game on BT. So I've seen 3 of the 5 games in the time I've been away. I mean, the last time I was on here, I was pretty scathing of the Southend performance. It was absolutely just, it was a shocker. I mean, of all the performances, of the 3 performances I've seen subsequent from then on TV, I don't think any of them were as bad as Southend, in my opinion. I mean, they weren't great, obviously, but for the Halifax game, we had a lot of possession, just no cutting edge. No midfield to basically thread the ball through, which we're on repeat saying that every time. Sheeran and Shelton in midfield as a 2 just don't really work. The Chesterfield game, it was proper part of the bus stuff. It was the difficult watch. The Chesterfield game was the difficult watch. But, you take a point there any day of the week. So actually it wasn't that bad. And the stats suggested we were quite comfortable throughout. So that was all right if that's the tactic you employ. And today's game, I mean, it's just, I don't know what would have happened had Fondop stayed on. I'm not sure we'd have done much better, which is probably the biggest issue. We could have been 1-up, couldn't we, if Shelton had not pulled that one wide at 0-0. So it could have been.
Listen, Alex Reid missed an open goal, mate. An absolute open goal. Like, shocking. Yeah. I mean, I thought in terms of like what you said about, I think with 11 men we would win that game. That was my feeling. I'm not saying we were absolutely brilliant, but I thought Fondop was doing quite well with his flick-ons and knock through and stuff like that. I think he was having a decent game. I think he's got to hold his hand up and admit fault for getting sent off. Stupid yellow card first thing in the first minute of the game like that. We should have been up. Like the Alex Reid should have scored. Like there's just you can't. That's not the manager's fault at the end of the day. Like that is just incompetence in front of goal. Like it was an open net. It should have scored. Simple as that. So I think what you said, it's been since the Southend game, it's been fine margins, and unfortunately we've been on the wrong end of these fine margins. And I think that I'm not panicking because it's fine margins. I think if we'd lost every game 4-0, like with the Southend game, I think it would be something to panic about. But Andy Roberts, you're not. I mean, I don't know how I feel. Like I said, I'm really down at the minute because I think after everything that we've been through as a club, everyone was hoping for a positive start to the season and some feel good factor. Yeah. But it's not happened, and that was more of a hope than an expectation, I guess. Really, I mean, it's what you hope. I mean, maybe we did expect it, but how are you feeling off the back of these last couple of games?
Well, bad. It's the simple answer. We could look at every match on its own. You asked me the first question, what was about Boreham Wood? Well, David Underwood said they were missing 2 midfielders. So this seemed to be our excuse how we can't play because we're missing 2 midfielders. Do we have a better squad than Boreham Wood that we can withstand missing 2 midfielders? I can't understand it. We won one game 5-1. Great. Well, let's take that on. The next game, we're absolutely dreadful. The same players that were great then are terrible. How can this be? This should be the best time ever to be an Oldham Athletic manager. We wiped all the past out. We've had a full season to generate players. We've been in players in all last season, and I can't understand how we can possibly be so bad.
I mean, for the thing that I said after the Southend game, which I've just observed on the 3 games I've watched again, is how we've managed to come into this season. I know Lundstrom and Dan Ward are injured. I know the 2 midfielders that we signed, but how we haven't addressed the obvious massive issue of somebody who can dictate the game in the middle of the park and pass the ball around and want it in the middle and drop a shoulder and beat a man and thread the ball through. How we've not addressed that problem is a real issue.
Well, surely the management will say, "Well, we have addressed the issue. It's just that they're injured, isn't it?" I mean, how many centre midfielders are we supposed to bring in over the summer? I mean, Dan Gardner played today, and I thought he was man of the match today. Dan Gardner, we got the first 90 minutes out of him for all season. But I'm sure the manager would love to play Dan Gardner for 90 minutes every game if he could, because he does make the difference.
Yeah, but we do have all the midfielders that we had last season when we actually went on a run, and we've still gone backwards from that.
Yeah, and in that, yeah, we have at the minute. You're absolutely right, and I guess as people have pointed out, a lot of those in that run, it was a good run. He'd addressed most of the problems. We were nice. We were tight. We didn't blow many teams away, did we? So what you'd be hoping for over the summer is that they had identified all the major positions that needed recruiting, get them in, and then it would be a complete sort of change in approach from the start of the season. And that's why I was so disappointed at Southend. In fact, I was in shock because it was so bad. I couldn't believe how we'd started. Now, you can put that down to one game, circumstances at Southend, okay. Then we go and blow someone away 5-1. I don't think Aldershot are going to cause too many teams big trouble. So it was a comfortable win against a relatively poor side in the league. And beyond that point, you'd be hoping to start to put your stamp on games. And the issue, you can understand the frustration from the Unsworth out camp because of the sort of negative setup in games, and the fact that we're not getting on the front foot, the fact that he goes with, to use modern vernacular, a low block over a high press. He just doesn't fancy a high press. It doesn't appear. So he goes with a low block in games. Makes people, if people are wanting us, given the last 20 odd years, to be going all out blood and thunder attack, aren't they? That's what the terrace is baying for, and I mean baying for. They want Andy Liddell, David Ayres. They want Neil Adams, Rick Oldham, strikers. Pumping the ball into the box and trying to. Unsworth is not setting us up like that. So that he's setting us up defensively first to sit back with a low block and then counter attack. That's why I think he fancies Devine Green, because Devine Green's done okay under Unsworth because it suits him with his pace, and that's what people complain about. The thing that is the issue for me, we're talking about Unsworth here, and maybe we should continue that first. It's just the behaviour on the terrace is the issue. It's okay for people to want him out. If he lost his job tonight, I think he possibly couldn't. He possibly, he might consider himself unlucky, but he couldn't complain really based on it's a results-based business and the start he's had, given the backing he's had. But the major issue for me is not to address that centre midfield position, but if it just finish on that point is, we're in effect expecting Josh Lundstrom to be like prime Andrea Pirlo in order to make the difference. And I don't think the kid is going to be able to do that. He just hasn't got the experience. Like Dan Ward plays sort of left of centre, so he's not that centre midfielder who's bossing the game. If Josh Lundstrom's it, then that could actually be the thing that changes the way we play entirely. But I'd be surprised if it is. And I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm not calling for him to be sacked. I'm not baying for people's blood on the terrace. I'm supporting the owners and the board of directors who are in possession of all of the information that I'm not privy to. So that's the stats, that's the player's performance, that's all of the barometers, metrics, and the points in the sand that they will be looking to measure performance against. They'll make their decision when they're ready, and they have my full support.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the feeling amongst a certain section in the Rochdale Road end this afternoon, was it, Andy Roberts?
No. And there was a really great level of support for the team. People were cheering for the team. I'm not going to lie, there were a few people around me shouting abuse at the odd player, and I don't condone that. Particularly Will Sutton. I think he's a great player for the future, and he's been hung out to dry a bit. Played well today, but in general, there was great support for the team, but everybody knew at the end it was going to turn a certain way, and I understand why that is. We can see, everyone can see the mistakes and basic things that you don't have to be a football manager to see that is just a wrong decision. And we're seeing that week after week, and it's just hard to condone. It really is. I
thought today, for me, it was the timing of because we had people chanting for Unsworth out basically today. It had gone beyond the football is shit. It was calling for him to be sacked. I thought today's performance didn't warrant that, because I thought we played for 10 men with 10 men for an hour. I thought the team worked really hard. I thought we stayed in the game the whole time. At half time, he made 2 substitutions. He brought Dickinson and Green on, fresh legs at half time, extra, a bit of extra energy and pace and whatnot. And I thought that the team stayed in the game for the whole game against, the team that are second in the league with 10 men. We don't know how that game would have finished had we had 11 men on the pitch. If we win that game today, then you've gone Chesterfield, Boreham Wood, and Solihull unbeaten, and it's a different reflection completely on things. And so I think it is fine margins. That's what it is, and I think this is why I'm so despondent. This is why I'm so down about it. Is that we have gone to town, not a collective we, but as a certain section of the fan base have gone to town on Unsworth straight at the first opportunity, at the very first opportunity to go for him, they've gone for him. And now it's just building and building and building. Like Dom came on the phone in the other day and told us that he'd made his mind up in December, after the Notts County game. You know, like that, but that's early. That's really early to make your mind up about somebody. And then what I'm thinking is there is a section of the fan base that is sitting there watching the game, ignoring anything that might be positive, and picking on everything that is negative. And there is negative things to pick on today through the season, no doubt about it. I'm as disappointed as anyone that we've got 1 win in 6. Very, very disappointed. When I'm not like a massive advocate for David Unsworth and David Unsworth football. I'm an advocate for patience and letting the man do his job and getting behind him while he's doing it. What that has meant is that some people have said that, well, that means that I'm, kissing his ass and love him and all the rest of it. And then are having a go at me on Twitter as if I'm somehow responsible because I'm advocating for patience. This is what has got me down this week and I've bitten this week. I've risen to it, and I've had a go at people on Twitter that I would usually ignore. I made a sweeping statement, myself and Dave, like we called some of our fan base wankers and dickheads. Well, I'll stand by that because there's plenty of them in any football fan base. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're not unique in that respect. And then I got a reaction then off the aforementioned on Twitter, without actually naming any names. They all bit and showed themselves to be exactly, who they are. We're all entitled to have a difference in opinion. There was reactions to people, the chance of Unsworth out. People, I could hear people like saying, "Shut up," and like, no, it's not just because a group of people chants it doesn't make it the overall feeling. There were people that didn't want that to happen, and I'm trying to use this platform as to be a voice to say, look, it's just because you're the loudest and the most vociferous on Twitter doesn't make you the majority. And so that needs countering, it needs challenging. The man, in my opinion, still needs a bit of time and a bit of patience because it is fine margins. We've not been getting outplayed. We've not been getting murdered. We do need to see his best 11 on the pitch. We do need to see what difference that midfield will make. And you know what? It might get to a point before the end of the season where results are just so bad. And we might be hovering around where we are now. And he might have to go. And I'll back the board to make that decision if they want to make that decision as and when they feel it's the time to go. But there's this sort of self-entitlement that we're like, well, Frank's put his money in. The club is now sorted. Most people sat on their ass and did fuck all about that, by the way. And then all of a sudden now we want the world and we want it now. And that's what pisses me off about people.
I'll let Andy respond to that in a minute, and I'll just add some colour from my perspective. I agree wholeheartedly with the way you've surmised that. Is it's the entitlement. It's the I've paid my money, so therefore I'm entitled to hurl dogs abuse, spit blood, and have veins popping out my neck, shouting abuse at people, and making the whole environment completely and utterly unwelcoming and toxic. Because that's what Southend was like the first game that I attended. I've got my 2 young boys there, and my friend Mark had his 2 young boys there. So you've got 4 kids under the age of 10. And there's a group behind me, hurling dogs abuse at Joe Nuttall and dropping a C word multiple times every sentence. And it was just completely... Now, my wife was like, I'm not sure I want to come at these days if that's what it's like. And I'm like, well, I was hoping it wouldn't be anymore, but it appears it's going to continue. And that really is part of the issue. Is I paid my money, so I'm entitled to act like appallingly. No, I just don't think you are. I don't think that's right. And the whole Chesterfield thing. So I'm watching that, and so if you're saying there was people singing Unsworth out today, you couldn't audibly hear it on the stream. Like,
no, because it wasn't, it wasn't like the whole Rochdale Road end or anything like that. It was just
exactly,
a number of people.
He was there. He was there.
It was there, yeah. But it wasn't it wasn't the majority, which is why you didn't hear it.
Yeah, and that's the point. That's the point I'm leading towards. There is at home games in that stand. I think it is. I'm not there every week because I'm 200 odd miles away. I attend more away games to do home games. But I speak to plenty of people that go, and I don't think it's the majority of people in that stand or in the stadium that are holding that view. But at away games, it is very different because there is a significant larger proportion of those that want to act in that way. And I will name somebody, right? Because I wouldn't ordinarily share the contents of private conversations or messages, but that Rubicon was crossed with me anyway. So I've had conversations with Bradley Knowles before now, where he has said to me, quote unquote, he enjoys the piss boil. I enjoy the piss boil, Andy. I like it. I enjoy it. And I've tried to say to him, but why? You're just making the environment really unenjoyable and toxic. Yeah, but it's a laugh, isn't it? For you, maybe, but not for everyone else around you. And that is the old mentality that we've still got that doesn't help.
But by counterpart, you can't say not everybody was joining in that song, so therefore not everyone thinks that way. I'm never going to sing against a manager. It's not what I want to do. I'm not going to boo the team off ever. But I was quiet there. You can't co-opt me into people that don't think David Unsworth needs to be sacked. I'm not booing. I'm not singing Unsworth out, but I'm looking at it. I'm thinking I can't imagine how he's going to turn this around and actually be a good football manager for us. And I do think he should be replaced. I do think we should be looking to an alternative.
Yeah, and I think that there'll be. So this is the question now. I actually I like listening to Ryan Hamer, because I think Ryan Hamer presents things in a very presentable, a decent argument that is persuadable.
He's a pretty level-headed guy, isn't it?
Exactly. So when Ryan Hamer was on, when I watched back the phone in, Ryan Hamer said, "How do we express our opinion then if we're not to be chanting on a terrace? Like how do I get my point of view over? Like we've got to be able to sort of make that point of view, and you've got to say, okay, fair enough, right? Maybe a rendition of whatever they want, whatever they choose to sing is fine in that sense, and/or the foundation potentially." That could be a route where maybe they express their opinions, and maybe through the board opinions could be expressed on behalf of supporters. I don't know, but when you see surveys and polls done on Twitter, I always roll my eyes with much hilarity on the basis that
it depends who posts them. It depends. Who their followers are. Yeah.
It's an absolute cesspit of opinion. I mean, it's just I basically barely ever respond anymore. Or I'll flick through it every now and again, but I don't really want to flick through it because it's just bile most of the time.
It's a race to the bottom, isn't it? It really is.
Absolutely. And so therefore all you've got is that a self-fulfilling prophecy of the people that are all congregated together in an echo chamber, all saying what they want, and you'll get numbers like. And I think people have quoted numbers like 80% of people want him out. I mean, and Andy might know because we know each other. But I'd done a survey in the Oasis group, which, if you listen to Will Holdaway, we'll say we're the oldest and most level-headed fan group. I'm not sure that's true. But we did. Yeah. I did a survey in the Oasis group at about the same time as your Twitter survey poll was going off, and it was broadly 2/3 to give him more time and with patience 1/3 out. Now, off a small number, just like Twitter numbers off a small number, so completely statistically unreliable, and I'm not therefore quoting it, but I'm just giving you a comparison. I think that, and that's not to say the 2/3 that are saying give him more time, a bit like my position on it is, I'm not saying give him more time because I can definitely see that this man is going to be the second coming of Joe Royle. I'm not saying that that's the case at all. I have no reference point to make that observation. I just am prepared to accept that I'm not in possession of all the information to make that decision, and I'm not the expert in it. Whereas the Royals particularly are, and the Rothwells, it is their investment. They can make that decision amongst them with the advice of Kevin Roberts and Norwood and anyone else that they wish to listen to. I support them.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, actually, when we talk about, I think the question you asked, should we give him more time? Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to give someone more time? So I'm thinking in a business situation, you might have some factors have hit your business and you can't deliver. So, maybe you can't meet your orders. You need more time. Maybe you need to do a deal with your customers, just say, look, we're going to be shit for a while, but we will get it right. What does that mean with us? Is it something wrong within the system? So that would mean we need more players, perhaps. I mean, it's hard to say that we've not given enough players to make it right. You might say one of your team, one of your staff is failing, but you don't just sack him. You say, what do we need to help you achieve? Does David Unsworth need to go to another course? Where he'll learn how to set up a football team. But what are we going to do with this time? We can't just sit there and wait and do nothing, because David Unsworth's been there for long enough that we can see what he does.
Well, you met that some good points there, and I think
do with this time.
Some good points there, and I think that it kind of really dovetails into what Andy was just saying, because what we've got is people on the board that will be able to make those kind of observations and who will be looking at all those things in that kind of way based on their experience in business and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So they have to go through that process, don't they? And they do have to say, the thing is we're in uncharted territory, right? We're in the situation where we've come from the lowest point we've ever been at, and now we're trying to rebuild. Now, I stand by my prediction at the beginning of the season. I think we'll finish this season. We'll finish really well. I think we'll be really strong. I think the team will improve and get better and get better and better as the season goes on. And I think we'll finish strongly. And I think we'll definitely be in contention for promotion.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you there, Matt?
Yeah.
What are we waiting for?
This is the uncharted.
Why are we playing bad formations now? What's going to be the trigger? We would say, okay, we'll start playing well now.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to put the 100% of the blame on the manager. Players have to take responsibility when they're on the pitch, and I don't think that. And that doesn't mean booing Joe Nuttall, by the way, because I think Joe Nuttall cuts a load of flack that he doesn't deserve. The players on the pitch have to take responsibility and accountability as well as the manager, right? He says they're there to do a job. If they don't do it well enough, that's not entirely his fault. So I don't think that the formations necessarily always you can blame the manager. It's easy to blame the manager. Ultimately, over a prolonged period of time, the manager will be the one who gets held accountable for results, because that's the way it works in football. But we're in this uncharted territory where we've gone from being the shittest we've ever been and the most chaotic and dysfunctional we've ever been to all of a sudden going into this period where the next year is kind of like, people are saying, well, there's been enough time now, as if we've got some kind of barometer, as if there's some kind of checklist that, like, how do we know what is the right amount of time to go from where we were to where we are? Is it all down to pounds spent? Well, we've spent this much money on this much money on this much money on this. Therefore, we must be here by now. The only way we'll know about with Unsworth is if the honest thing, the ultimate reality is the only way we'll know if Unsworth is really, really, really underperforming is if he gets sacked tonight and they bring another manager in and that other manager turns it around like that. And unless that happens, we won't know, really, will we?
Well, let me take a different tack. I know it's not every Oldham supporter's favourite thing, but I'm a Celtic supporter as well. Oldham is my first love, so don't get me wrong. If Oldham play Celtic, I'm supporting Oldham. When Celtic play Kilmarnock or Dunfermline or whatever, I have an expectation, an absolute arrogant expectation that Celtic are going to win that game. Because Celtic have massively more resources, they have far better players, they have better training facilities, and this is the same situation that we're in our league. Our pie sales must be equal to season ticket sales.
I would respectfully disagree with that as an analogy. You're talking about one of the most famous football clubs in the world who've got a century plus of dominance in the Scottish League, being a bigger club than they've been a bigger club for forever up there. We're at our lowest. This is a club that's been at its lowest ebb last year. So how can we all of a sudden,
still massive?
But the thing is, it doesn't matter about the size of the club when there is a lot more momentum that needs to go in a certain direction before. Undoubtedly, we are the biggest club in this division, but that doesn't make us the best football team in this division, and it doesn't make us miles ahead of everybody else because our downward momentum has been such that it doesn't turn around quick enough and as quick as we'd all like.
I can't accept that. I'm sorry, Matt. If we're going to accept that now, we're going to have to accept that for the next 20 years.
That's bullshit, Andy.
There's never going to be...
That's bullshit. Why?
There's never going to be a better time or place to be in charge of Oldham Athletic than now. We've got the best owner in the world. We must have 5 times the budget of most of the teams. We've got the new pitch. We've got everything. Most of the players don't even know who Simon Corney is or Abdallah is. Everything is perfect. It's the best time ever.
It is. It's fantastic, isn't it? But that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. Andy, go on. Andy
I'm not an avid follower of Scottish football, Andy, so you'll probably need to correct me if I get this wrong. But would a better analogy, a Scottish football analogy for us, not be Rangers on the basis that when they got relegated to the very bottom division...
That never happened, Andy. So,
what never happened?
They were never relegated.
What happened to them?
The club you're thinking of ceased to exist, and another one started.
All right. A technical point: that the club ceased to exist, and a brand new Rangers with the same potential on the basis that they were a massive club with a massive home and a huge fan base. When they began their rise back from the bottom, back towards their sort of, what would be considered their par position in the top division of Scottish football, they didn't go through the leagues sequentially every year. They stuttered and failed at times.
No. They missed one.
Okay. So I guess as an analogy, even Rangers with their size and scale still faltered and missed a potential promotion in a structure where
they bottled one. Yeah.
Okay.
They got promoted.
But I mean, even then though, like the scale, the difference, the difference in size between Rangers and Scottish 3rd or 4th division teams is like that's like Oldham versus the Dog and Duck in terms of scale. So like that's a gulf even beyond. None of that really matters. What matters is and why Andy and I know Macca on Twitter doesn't want to hear the word Zen, so I'm going to use it definitely because he doesn't want to hear it.
He'll be showing you his biceps.
Well, whatever. The Zen about the overall state that the club is in, right? It got to this point where we now have a foundation for success. And ultimately, I am not panicking now because I know that this success is coming. The rebuilding of Oldham Athletic has begun, right? Would I like us to be further up the table? Yes. Do I think we should have had more wins out of the first 6 games? Yeah, like I said, fine margins. I think that if we'd have beaten Halifax, and I think we could have beaten Halifax, and we didn't, and maybe today, I fancied us today as well if we hadn't gone down to 10 men. Fine margins. I think another 4 points, and it's not been such a bad start to the season. Things can change very, very easily, and I worry about the disruption of and the cost of losing of sacking the manager over the sake of being patient. Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what any of you listening think. It's down to Frank and Darren and the board to make the decision on the manager. They're getting hung out to dry by certain people who think that it was a jobs for the boys thing, and that I think if the pressure starts to go on to them for that, that's probably more in like, you know, I mean, there's lots of different things where you could start pointing fingers and blaming. But I am happy that the club is where it's at and that we have a foundation for success. And I'm not going to start having a go at the board for bringing the wrong man in the first place. And I'm not going to have a go at the manager for doing his best, as I believe he is. And I'm not going to have a go at the players for not living up to their potential on the pitch, which I don't think they do week in, week out. I'm happy to be a bit patient about it.
The whole jobs for the boys thing, which is an accusation which is bandied about. Jobs for the boys means you're doling out jobs to your mates for the purpose of looking after them, or, you know, nepotism within family structures. I think that the appointment of David Unsworth was made in good faith, or you know, the recruitment was made in good faith, and the recommendation in good faith. I agree. So to start accusing the royal family, who are literally king royalty in relation to our football club, of jobs for boys, is basically allowing the narrative of Barry Owen to seep into your own lexicon. Pack it in. It's an absolute nonsense. That isn't the case. If they've made a mistake, then they'll hold their hands up, I'm sure, because they want the best for Oldham Athletic as well. But that decision will be made as a collective by people who know more about football management and professional football than I could ever imagine. So, like, for the same reason, when I come back to the Zen point, I coined the phrase Zen, and the reason that word was relevant is because at the point that we coined it, we had broadly the same cohort of people which are vociferously anti-Unsworth today. At the time, were saying, we're going to get relegated, we're going to go down, Frank needs to get his cash book, get his money out and buy players quickly. No one's going to turn up anymore. The fan bar is going to be empty. Even the Atleticos aren't singing. Season ticket sales are going to be rubbish. None of which proved to be correct. Literally none of it. So what we were saying at the time was, be zen, like, chill out, let the people run the club, and it will improve over time, which is what it did last season. The start to this season has been utterly underwhelming. And Mr. Unsworth, as much as he's a lovely chap and we enjoyed spending time when we interviewed him, I don't think he like I said, he might consider himself unlucky because he could say fine margins, 2 midfielders signed I've not been able to use. But in a results-based business, if Southend had not had points deducted from them for financial irregularities, we'd be in the bottom 4 today. And that, given the investment and support that he's had over the summer, isn't good enough. And the only question would be, to Matt's point, and this is the bit that we're not in possession of, is, you know, what do they know that we don't about the potential improvement in the future? Because they obviously were looking at that last season, and could we go on a run similar or ideally better, and place ourselves comfortably in the top 7? Because that has to be his minimum requirement. If he doesn't get the top 7 this season, then I suspect he's out on his ear anyway. That has to be the expectation, to Andy's point, for a club of our size in this division. Go on, Andy.
Yeah, I'd entirely add my support that Darren, and I don't know how much involvement Joe has. Generally don't know, but obviously Darren's the man in the hot seat. Darren wants the best for the club and will make the best decisions as he sees it for the club. And I don't support any sort of move against him in terms of bringing in the system that he's brought with Unsworth and all the big coaching squad. However, I don't think that's worked. I think it's obvious that it's not worked when we're being outplayed by teams who have maybe a fifth of our budget and probably the manager and one part-time coach, maybe it's their setup. So what we've gone with hasn't worked. We know it hasn't worked. Loyalty plays a big part. I put on Twitter the other day, I'm usually one of the absolute last people to call for the coach to go or the manager to go. But yeah, we know it's not working, and it's sad.
It is.
We tried a big scheme. It's not worked. We need to try something else.
Well, we'll find out, I'm sure, what decision they come to over the coming weeks. But I think from my own personal perspective, if they decided it was the end of the road tonight, I think, like I said, I don't think you could have a much complaint. But I'm also very happy for them.
I'm sorry to butt in you then, but Unsworth's last commentary after playing Bowden Wood, he said, "Oh, they were missing 2 midfielders."
Yeah, I think
Bowden Wood are missing 2 midfielders. Jesus, we're missing 2 midfielders, and that's been the reason we're shit.
Yeah, he doesn't. I have to say, he doesn't do himself any favors at times. I think the interview we did with us when we had a full, hour and 20 minutes with him, and it was nice and relaxed, and we went at a comfortable pace, and he answered everything. He couldn't have been more accommodating, like answering questions. And everyone's listened to it. The listening numbers are big, so and we asked him questions about. I was trying to represent the cohort of fans in that interview. Matt and I were trying to represent everybody's opinions and views of David Unsworth in that interview. And so Matt and I prepared for that meeting, and we've gone through the questions, and we decided in what order we were going to do them and how we were going to sort of interact with each other. And we asked the questions about how we're going to set up. Is it going to be a high press? Is it counter-attack football? What is it? And his answer to that, which he's replayed fairly regularly because he answered it, and that's fair enough. He said fast, dynamic football. And I don't think we've seen a great deal of that. I think...
He said he wants his teams to play fast, dynamic football. That's what he says he wants his teams to play.
Yeah. And I think now I'm probably of the view that I conclude that fast, dynamic thing is basically counter-attack, isn't it? It is low block, sit deep, counter-attack at pace. Now, that's fine. I'm not bothered personally. This is the point I was making earlier. Whatever generation you are, the only decent team Latics have had in the last 30 years, if you're old enough to even remember any of those teams, had wide men in a 4-4-2 that peppered the box and had strikers that were good in it.
I remember you nearly having a heart attack.
Yeah, that was Walsall. Those were the days when those were the days when we were playing convoluted systems with Connor Brown as like some weak. And I'm like, why are you asking someone of that lack of ability to play a complicated role in a team? Just play 4-4-2 and get on with it. But that's what people remember, and so that's part of the reason why our fans have been calling for 4-4-2 last season. And that's not how Unsworth wanted to set up. He was doing 3-5-2s and what have you. And I thought the 4-3-3 might have worked today, actually. I was looking forward to seeing how that set up. But obviously one goes off within no time at all. But anyway, I digress. Everyone remembers that sort of 4-4-2 up and out of attack. If Unsworth's going to set up with a low block and counter-attack, I'm sort of fine with that if that's the modern, technical approach that a coach that you employ wants to play. The problem is it's got to have some end product. So we've got to have some fast, dynamic, literal breaks that create lots of chances. And the problem is when you've got, my observation is, not as a technician, not as somebody who's skilled to make this observation, because I'm not a professional football coach, but my amateur observation is, when you've got Sheeran and Shelton as your two midfielders, you're not going to be able to do that very well because we give the ball away too quickly, and we need better midfielders.
There are a couple of players who've been hung out to dry, frankly, and they have both looked fairly shit for us. But they both, if you see an athletes team in our division, look at their pedigree, they'd be okay signings. They've been dragged down. We signed Raglan, clearly the marquee defender in our division. I'm not saying anything bad, but our defence hasn't been great. Hogan's a pedigree defender. No one's done all right, but he's
he needs service. He needs service.
We're bringing players in, and you think, well, they're going to raise us up a bit, but they're not. They get dragged down to the level that we're at, and but then, that can only be the coaching team. But, and we say, we create chances, we don't finish them. Players don't push on when they can. it's because none of our players have belief. We're not strong as a team. Our players don't have confidence to put themselves in possession for a pass or to make a pass. And whose fault is that?
So what? Okay, and you know that's very well reasoned and argued, and you can see how people could conclude that point of view. But therefore, does singing, is the baying crowd looking for the piss boil, looking to go toxic? Like I said, I couldn't hear anything on the stream today, but the behaviour at Chesterfield was pretty bad, wasn't it? I mean, it was, you could hear it was very, very loud. I mean, probably got better audio there than on the stream, to be fair. So you can pick up the audio better at a ground with BT Sports there. But it was loud, it was visceral, and it was nasty. And it went early. And it went early. And you sort of saying, well, if our players are lacking confidence and the coaching staff have to take responsibility for that, then we're just like foaming at the mouth as a collective at away games where it's dominated by that sort of, and I just don't think that helps.
And I do I do agree with you there. You know, I say I've never sang for a manager to be out of the game. I've never booed. I might have felt it. I keep it internal. I think the culture's changed partly maybe because, you know, we learned to boo Abdallah, to boo Cornish slightly before that, and people, and I don't condone some of the behaviour. You know, we obviously, you know, going on Channel Lamper, the goalkeeper is so far wrong, but yeah, I don't condone that. I also don't condone, and I'm not being personal here, you know. A lot of people said the hashtag's been an absolute fucking bonfire, and it has. And everyone just needs to take a fucking step back on that and just stop calling each other out. And, you know, 200 long threads going back and forth are not going to solve anything. You know, everybody needs to chill the fuck out a little bit there. And, yeah. But you know,
it's about a collective responsibility, Andy. I feel, and I felt this right from since I started the podcast 3 years ago, that as a football club, as a fan base, we have a collective responsibility to try and set standards for ourselves in terms of what we expect and how we behave and all this kind of stuff. And there are people that are just waiting in the wings with bats and bricks and whatever else. Figuratively waiting to pounce on people when they say something wrong, do something wrong, or in their opinion, and they contribute, like you said before, Andy, about loving a bit of piss boil and all this, contribute to the negativity. Now, my reaction on social media probably hasn't been great this week. You know, I responded last week because I was sat at home watching some of the people attacking me as if it was somehow my fault that Unsworth was the manager and doing wrong. People like that need calling out. People like that need taking on. I have ignored a lot of shit over the last 3 years. A lot of shit, right? And I've let it go and I've been the bigger man. All I ask for is that the manager he's given some patience. That's all I've asked for. And that you back the club, you back Frank and the board. They've made this decision. Now back them and back. Even if you don't have to back him, you don't have to sing his name at the game, but don't shout for him to be out after 6 games. If you Frank's the saviour, Frank's brilliant. I mean, Frank can do no wrong except for this, which we believe he has now done wrong, and therefore we're going to. That's all I've asked for, right? And I've taken all kinds of shit off all kinds of dickheads, right? And I'm not going to. I don't have to stand for it. Right. And players don't have to stand for it. And managers don't have to stand for it. But football clubs don't respond to these things. And managers don't go on social media and don't respond to these things. I'm just a fan. Right. If someone calls me a dickhead, I can call them a dickhead. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Right. Some of the way that some people go on, you'd think that I'd been elected to represent the UK in the European Parliament or something like that. Or I was an MP for Oldham West. I'm on the board of a football supporters trust. Right? Get a grip. If you don't, that's what pisses me off, Andy, more than anything, is the people that give it out can't take it back. I didn't even have to mention their name and it triggered them, right? So they've shown themselves up to be who they are. If you're going to give it out to the manager or to people who can't give it back to you, you've got to be prepared to take it. If I redirect some of that at you and part it at you, well, no, that's just tough. And it's, if you can't give it, sorry, I always get this wrong. If you can't take it, don't give it. And yeah, did I let myself down on it? I probably did. Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah. You know, I'm going to jump in there, Matt. You know, I've, you know, nobody's high profile as you, but, you know, I was, you know, on Owen the Blues management and, you know, did spell in the trust when I only joined specifically because Barry Owen is not there now and I've moved back up north. And yeah, you know, you do put your head above the parapet and you do get stick. And you know, I said to the Push the Boundary lads when they stepped down, I said, you know, I bet you'll feel like the whole fucking world has come off your shoulders because you're justifying yourself all the time and you're getting stick for no reason. If I can offer you a bit of personal advice to you, it would be you've just got to accept that that's going to be the case and you can't answer every single person. So
you can't.
You've got to let something go. You know,
you can't. And I know Matt lets an enormous amount of it go. But yeah, some of the personal abuse from the people who have been triggered by Matt calling him out last week has been, you know, we've all seen it all on social media, all having a go at Matt for what? Like, you know, just having a pop in for nothing. Like, and some of the
I don't. You know what I mean? There's been a bit of banter and. Sorry, Andy, we had a bit of a delay on the thing then, so we were talking over each other. But I don't mind a bit of banter. There's been some banter with like the likes of Reese and some of the lads off the bus and that, and they're singing songs. And we're very bit back and forth with Jack, and that's all fine. Bit of banter. I know, when I chat to these lads, I see them, you know, sometimes on away days and stuff like that, and it's bit of banter is no problem. Back and forth, a bit of piss taking, absolutely fine with that. And people who know me know that I can take that kind of stuff on the chin and I'll give it back, no problem, right? It's people, there's some Chris G, Blue 92 or something, just making stuff up on Twitter, just saying like, you know, about me wanting a media job at the club, things like this, me doing, I don't mind, but you're just lying. People are just making lies and they just can't wait to shoot you down. And it's that kind of stuff. It's just annoying. And they're just little rats at the end of the day. Making stuff up.
It'd be 12 years ago, people tell me that I was, you know, we did the Owen the Blue shirts. We showing, you know, I was there when Chris Taylor scored. You know, people tell me, you know, we're making $1,000 a month off this, you know. And so I was lugging shirts up and down the fucking country by train, flogging them, because Matt was spending 50 quid a month out of his own pocket to pay for their websites. And, you know, obviously, whatever situation you're going to get it. And
so you've always got, as I pointed out last week, you've always got the dickheads and the wankers, haven't you? Doesn't matter whether it's now, whether it's 12 years ago or wherever. So look, I'm quite happy to stick that out there and say, look, they are who they are. I will never accept a job at Oldham Athletic. I don't want a job at Oldham Athletic. I want to be. If I was a fan, if I had a job at Latics, whether it was in the media department, I could be on the board now if I wanted to be as the fans rep. I could very, very easily have gotten in that position if I wanted to. I said straight from the beginning, I don't want that. That's not why I joined OASF. I joined OASF because most of you listening wouldn't do it, despite my calls for you to do it. None of you had the balls to stand up and do it. I know that's not true. A few of you did, but most of you didn't. And I put my money where my mouth is. So that's why I got that position. I didn't want it, but I did it because I said I would, and I did. And I don't want a job at the club, because I'd rather be able to say what I want to whoever I want. Now, what we've replaced at OASF is we've gotten rid of a fans rep on the board who at the time would not even acknowledge a petition with 3,000 names on it, right? That's what you had. You had, what was he called? Paul? Was it Paul Jones? Who was the rep at the time, wouldn't even go into the boardroom and say, there's 3,000 fans there have signed a petition against you. What are you going to do about it? So what you've got now is you've got somebody who you know is going to do that as and when the time comes. And if I feel that some of our fans need the machine gun turning on them for a quick blast every now and again, then I'll do it. And you get what you pay for. You know what I'm all about. I'll say what I think it needs to be said when I feel it needs to be said. And at the end of the day, if I felt that the club board were bringing the club into disrepute over something, or if I felt that whatever it was, I would say it, and you know that I'm telling the truth, because that's what I do. That's what I've been doing for the last few years. I don't know if David Unsworth is the man to take us forward. I don't know if he's got what it takes as a football manager. But what I do know is that if he has, this period that he's going through will hold him in very good stead, and will make more of a manager out of him and more of a man out of him than, and we will find out one way or the other if we give him a little bit of time to get through this patch. Can he do it? I don't know. Am I prepared to let the board give him the time? Yes, I am. That's all I've said. And if you think I'm wrong in that, then that's fine. That's your opinion. We've no problem having a difference of opinion. But attacking each other over differences in opinion, I think you're right, Andy. It does need to stop. I don't know whether I've done more to stop it or continue it during this podcast or not, but there we go. We'll leave it at that. Maybe everyone will forget by the time we finish Latic's Mind, Andy. What do you think?
Yeah. You know what? If everyone on the O and the Blues hashtag just, I think there has been some mellowing, but maybe it's just a period just everyone say, you know what, we'll leave that there for now. Take a breath, and there's not directed at all, particularly at you, Matt, or anyone who's taken a different view. We all just need to fucking chill a bit, out a bit.
You know what?
I'm not going to say Zen. Definitely not going to say Zen. But,
what would help tremendously, Andy, is some wins. It really would. That would be tremendously helpful. So we all agree on that front, I think.
Obviously, that's in a circular argument about how we're going to get them, but that's the nature of football.
Exactly.
Come on then, Latic's Mind, Andy Roberts.
What does that mean?
Are you ready, Andy?
Music.
Oh, you're going to ask me questions?
Oh yeah.
It means, are you ready?
Oh no, I'm going to get a record low score here now, because go on, just hit me with it. Go.
Who did Latic sell to Glasgow Rangers in 2019?
George Edmondson.
Correct. Who did Andy Ritchie score his first goals for the club against in August 1987?
I don't know, Brighton.
Huddersfield Town. Who was the last manager appointed by Simon Corney?
I'm going to get about 5 years wrong here. Connie.
You're going to run out of time.
Yeah, no, go.
Pass. Okay, we'll come back to that. Who was in goal for Latics when they won 1-0 at Everton in January 2008?
I can remember the save he made. It wasn't Paddy Kenny, was it?
No, it was Mark Crossley. Who scored the first goal of David Unsworth's tenure?
That must have been a special one.
He played a significant part in today's game.
Oh, was it Gardner?
Mike Fondop versus Wrexham. Which striker did Latic loan from Crystal Palace in 2016? I've started, so I'll finish. From Crystal Palace in 2016-2017. Matt, you've got the music on loop.
Yeah, it's be like, yeah, go on, sorry.
What was the guy we had before from? So Brown something. No, I don't know.
Freddie Ladapo. So you got one correct.
Wasn't he? Yeah.
One correct and one pass. Your one pass was who's the last manager appointed by Simon Corney? It was
Shares.
Wrong.
Oh,
what was it? Was it Richie?
It's a great shout. It was actually technically Richie Wellens.
Yeah.
Because he was still in charge just before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say I've got the mind of a sieve for stuff like this.
Well, you didn't get the worst score, Andy. So you didn't get the worst score.
Ask me about anything from when I got a sixth form job to when I left university, and not a fucking clue.
Lovely.
Right, so would you sack him in the morning, Andy, or would you not wait till then?
Which Andy are you asking?
Andy Roberts.
Yeah, I just genuinely don't believe that he's going to. I can't see what's going to change. I can't. He's 53, 54. He's done what he does. He only changes it when he's about to get sacked, and then he goes back to what he thinks. And the thing that sticks with me forever is when we were really, really bad last year. He said, I could change the team to win games, but I'm building something. And I thought that was the worst thing I've ever heard a football manager say. Why don't you just pick a team to win games? As opposed to this theoretical, we're going to be better in 3 years because of this. Nah, come on.
He does say things sometimes that don't help. It's like the basketball. I don't. He said after Boreham Wood, I don't like it being a basketball. I don't want it to be a basketball game. I don't like it to be a basketball game. Same at Chesterfield. You're like, well, there are times, and sort of there is a little bit of me thinks, well, we don't mind it, so long as we don't lose every game. And I think that's kind of like, I know that if you try and boil down the view and keep calm over it, of what people want. They want us to see us have a go. And that's fine. I want to see us have a go as well. I guess we can only have a go if we've got players that can have a go. And if we haven't got, if we haven't, then maybe we're setting up defensively.
What's most important to me, Andy, is that we start to build a success. We start a winning mentality and we start winning games of football. Now, if that means we start winning games of football on being really, really difficult to beat, and we score 1 or 2 goals and we win games, and under the whatever the ideal of Unsworth football is, and it works, great. But it has to work. That's the important thing. And at the minute, whatever it is he's trying to achieve isn't translating into results. So I'd rather us be more difficult to beat and win games on low scoring games than be another Harry Kewell side. Like, I had to have this conversation with somebody. We finished 18th and it was entertaining, but ultimately it gets you absolutely nowhere. So I'd rather us, whatever this philosophy that Unsworth has got, it's fine as long as it works. And I will take winning over anything at the minute, and getting becoming a winning team, and a winning club and a successful club again. That's most important. So ultimately, it's down to the manager, it's down to the players to make it happen.
I just think we've got the wrong squad to play back to scrap and win and defend and dig in, because we've actually got good players. So we don't have the right players to play. We're going to just defend and scrap and drag it out. No, we've got the players to go and smash teams.
Right. So when the next game's on Saturday against Gateshead, let's hope. I mean, it's an away performance, so we can expect a point, presumably. But we'll see. Andy Roberts,
time, guys.
Andy Roberts, thanks for joining us, my friend. I think we gave the Unsworth out argument plenty of time there, did we not?
It was a whole blooming episode, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I almost feel like the couple of you are just ever so slightly inching towards that side of things anyway. But, We'll see.
Well, I mean, patience is my key word for and back the board and for everything that they've done for the club. If they believe in him and he's their man and it's part of their team, then I just.
They'll believe in him until the exact second that they sack him.
They sack him
exactly, and
exactly.
Find their own place in between times,
and they will. It's up to them to make that. They will realise at some point that it's either worth pursuing or it's not worth pursuing. But I'm happy to let them make that decision.
And so am I. And there's one sort of I didn't get to the opportunity to slide it into the narrative we had before, but the thing that really struck a chord with me, which some people were trying to defend at Chesterfield, is sort of what was body language that was quite aggressive towards Frank in that way, and as he was walking out, and whether it was some people wanted to justify it on distance, whether it was 1 inch in front of his face or 2 meters away. 2 meters made it fine, 1 inch didn't. It didn't matter how close you were. That gesticulation and body language and throwing of arms towards Frank after everything that they've done is just not on for me.
I didn't think that was nice.
No, absolutely, and it's completely and utterly entitled and short-sighted, and completely just a toxic atmosphere, which makes it completely unpleasant to be amongst. I don't want to take my children and my wife to it because if that's how people want to behave. And if Frank was my dad, my dad's gone now, but he was a little bit older than Frank. But if that was my dad, I wouldn't be happy if I was Luke and Sue, seeing people behave like that towards my, And I know Frank's a fit man and a strong man.
I'm backing
not
Frank
okay.
to him if he needs to. But
yeah, look, I mean, it's I entitled last week's episode "Respect," and people thought that was ironic. I actually got a lot of support for what I said last week, and I challenged a lot of that type of behavior is what I was talking about, and some of that behavior and some of the behavior on Twitter, and not just everybody that has a different opinion to me, because if you've listened to this podcast for long enough, you'll know that I respect people's opinions. We've got through the whole of the Abdallah out scenario, where we encourage people to boycott games, but we always respected them if they went. It never got nasty in that situation. So I of course respect people's. Andy, you've got your opinion. Andy Roberts, your opinion about Unsworth out now. We're at slightly different positions in our argument. I'm not like hurling abuse at you. I mean, I respect your point of view and I respect you coming on chatting about it. So it's not about having a difference in opinion. It's about giving each other a little bit of respect, and especially the manager, the owner of the club, who's brought in these people to spend millions of his money, of his kids and grandkids' inheritance to try and bring success to our club. It doesn't mean that it's going to work on the first attempt. There will be patience required. And what worries me is that when people are reacting so quickly. I mean, what's going to happen if we don't get promoted this year or next year or the year after? What's the reaction going to be like from the fans? How are they going to respond if you can't handle it 6 games into the new season? How are you going to respond in future? And that concerns me, because you don't always get what you want in football, no matter how hard you work and how hard you try. So let's try and exercise a bit of patience now while there's still plenty of time for us to practice, because we could be in this situation for a long time yet, and it won't be through a lack of effort from the people that want to get us out of this. The people who own the club and the fans as a whole. Let's just try and be a little bit patient. Let's leave the final word to the fans only.
I'm here with the world famous Bradley, and it's not Dave Bradley, it's Bradley Knowles. How you doing, pal?
Yeah, doing good, mate. Doing good, pal.
So, 2 draws. Chesterfield and Boreham Wood are now going into Solihull today. Are we confident?
Yeah, 3-0 win. Whatever the tough gets going with Unsworth, somehow he pulls out of the bag. Look, last season he did it against Dorking, beat them 5-1. Chesterfield away, we somehow win 1-0. When he's on the brink, he comes out of it and he gets a win. Today he'll do the same again.
Do you think the crowd will be a factor today?
Yeah, the fans will be behind him, behind the team, but we need to be positive. We're not playing 10 yards further forward, we're sitting back defending. The people get disgruntled with it and they just want us to attack and actually go and try and win a game. If we're positive, then the crowd will be positive.
Do you think it's a case of trying to get what you can away from home and get 3 points at home is going to be the recipe for success this season?
No, he said he wants to be a winning machine. That's what he said in pre-season. To be a winning machine, you've got to be winning home and away. Yeah, look, good points are away from home. A point, you don't argue with it, but to win the league, to be top 2-3, you need to be winning your away games. The home games, the last two, obviously Aldershot we played very well, but again we were a bit negative, and Halifax we sat back. Let's just try and play on the front foot for once and not try and soak up and play in the counter. We've got the players like Norwood, Dickinson, who are coming from League 1, League 2 teams, who are good players, and let's play to the strengths.
What, fast dynamic football then?
Yeah, fast dynamic football.
And I didn't say that.
Well, you know you did, but that's all we want. Just want to be positive and just go at teams.
Cheers, Brad. Thanks very much. Hi, I'm just here. What's your name, pal?
Kev Bowden.
So, thanks for talking to me, Kev. What do you think about the result against Boreham Wood, firstly, and what do you think we'll get out of the game today?
Well, it's going to be difficult. In a difficult league, early on this season, he's trying to find the best team, so not unexpected, disappointing but not unexpected. But I think it's going to be a 3-1 to Latics today.
Do you? Solihull at the top of the league, and they've been doing quite well.
I'm confident at home. Confident.
Right. So you think that'll be the message for this season? Win your home games and try and get as much as you can out away.
Definitely. It's got to be. We've got to make this. We're getting better crowds now. We've got to make it Fortress Boundary Park.
So a lot of fans have been critical. Like we got beat frustratingly against Halifax, but then we got a last minute win draw against Chesterfield, and then we drew 0-0 at Boreham Wood. Would you have taken that for them two games?
I would have taken a win, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's still trying to find the best team. We've got a lot of new players coming in. I know a lot of teams are similar in the league, but I mean, at least we're giving him some time to sort his best team out, and that's the benefit of it.
Do you think the criticism's a bit too harsh?
Fans are entitled to whatever they want to do. Not a problem with that, you know. But like I said, for me personally, I'm pleased with sticking with him. Sometimes it's a bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, he's the manager, not me. So he picks the best team available.
Right then. So do you think we'll get the playoffs this season?
Minimum.
Really?
Definitely. I'm 100% on that one.
Well, you said you didn't listen to the podcast, but hopefully you'll listen on Monday when this comes out, pal.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Hi, I'm just here. What's your name, pal?
Mason Young.
So, Mason, a draw against Boreham Wood. What do you expect for today against Solihull?
A 2-0 win, but realistically, 2-0 win to them.
2-0 win to them?
Yeah.
Right, so you got no confidence in the team, no? Why?
Unsworth.
Why, what? Go on, a bit more, elaborate.
Well, where do we start? He lies in interviews. He texts like San Marino, and he has no plan B.
So is it you don't think he's the right man for the job, though?
No.
Who would you have instead of him?
Don't know. Anyone at the board one.
Right. Okay, well thanks very much, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.